We are live on Proline TV for our U.S. Open preview and picks report. Thanks for tuning in. This is, of course, one of the biggest events of the season, and we are going to do our best with our fantasy models, key trends to keep an eye on, stats. We'll go over why we're picking the players we're picking and much more. So let us know what's on your mind. If you're watching live, you can interact with us along the way. If you're watching on demand, just ask any questions you like, and we'll get back to you. Comments are also welcome. How's it going, Jared?
Great. Been looking forward to this week for a while, especially since I'll be going.
That's right. So when are you leaving?
Pretty excited. I'm leaving Friday morning. We're going to golf on the way down. Get to the house on Friday night, and then I'll be at the tournament on Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully the weather holds up. It looks a little iffy right now.
Does it?
Yeah, some rain in the forecast, which I think is going to impact the tournament. I mean, it would impact the tournament.
So
we can get into?
What's the exact city? Is it Oakmont?
It's Oakmont. Yeah, it's like just outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay. So so that means it's what in Pennsylvania? Philly's more East Coast. Is Pitt West Coast?
Yeah, more West Coast. Yep.
Okay, let's see here. Let me see if I can pop on something. In the meantime,
yeah, I mean, I know they've. I mean, it's been a rainy spring/summer there, anyways. They got a ton of rain like over the weekend, or maybe like Friday, Saturday, or whatever. So, and then there's a chance of rain on both Saturday and Sunday of tournament week. So it's not going to be as firm and fast as they would probably want, which I do think is going to impact the scoring and also the types of players we should be looking at as bets.
They don't think the greens are going to be fast enough.
The greens have the sub air system, so they'll be firm and the fastest greens we see on tool.
Yeah,
I'm talking more of the fairways. You know, there's not going to be the run out in the fairways that there might have been had it been a dry lead up to the event.
Okay, well, I guess that's not going to be good for the shorter hitters then, I guess.
Exactly.
But then again, they always got a crutch anyway because they hit the ball short. Well, hey, look, as long as they hit the ball accurately, maybe that'll pay off. Okay, so here's the weather, the latest, at least I've got here. We've got those scattered thunderstorms over the weekend. Obviously, all of this could change. It's only Monday night. And was this what you were saying?
Yep, exactly.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, this is the thing. I mean, rain, no big deal. Thunderstorms, that's the downer. I mean, we don't want to see thunderstorms because they're going to wind up stopping it. They see like one static electricity bolt 30 miles away.
Well, that happened.
They'll stop everything for 2 hours.
That happened last time they played here too. I don't remember exactly. It was more early in the week, but I don't think they played much on Thursday at all. I think I think Dustin had to play 36 holes in a day. I don't know. There was weather impacts when they played here in 2016 as well.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when I was watching trying to get a feel for the course, and so I popped on the video of Dustin Johnson's like every shot in the final round. I didn't watch it, the whole thing, but I started to watch it. I didn't realize how far behind he was to Shane Lowry, and I was like, wow, Lowry had that big a lead and blew it. Jesus.
I mean, there are a bunch of guys that I don't think Dustin wasn't in the final group, so there was someone else ahead of him too. It might have been like Scott Piercy. I'm not sure. They were, that's what happens on major Sundays, right? a lot of guys go away.
That's true, especially on a course like that. Well, look, there is no way, based on what they're saying, there's no way, because Shane Lowry was 7 under par going into the final round. There is no way anybody is 7 under par going into the final round this year. There's no way. I'd be absolutely floored if that would, from what they're saying and from what this golf course is supposed to be, one of the toughest golf courses in the U.S. Open venue.
Yep.
Everything else that you're hearing about this course, there's no way. I'd actually be surprised, tell you the truth, if the winning score was under par.
Oh, I think it's going to be, and I'll tell you why, because I watched a video last week it was with the former superintendent of this course. I can't remember the guy's name. It's a great video. I could share the link if you want to put it in the comments below here. But he was saying if it's dry and firm and fast, he would expect the winning score to be like +5. If it's soft, though, he thinks like it would be more like -5. And I think we're going to get more of the soft type condition. So I think the winning, if I had to guess the winning score, I'd say like 3 or 4 under.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, as much as we all enjoy just once a year, the top golfers in the world happen to struggle, and again, it's going to be really tough. It's not. It can get to you after 4 days. It's just even watching it, let alone playing it. So, sooner or later you want to see some birdies or something like that. It can get real tough. So I hope so. I hope that's the case. But anyway, so we're going to take a look at, I put together my own model, of course, from Fantasy National. We'll have a link in the description so you can check that out. I actually also put up the POA putting stats. So I've got them on separate videos so we can watch, so we can check those out, because that is definitely something that's going to come into play for sure. And we're going to go over all these top players. Might as well get right into it. So again, regarding the course, what do you think? Because again, statistically speaking, regarding what makes a U.S. Open golf course tough is going to be, the fairways are going to be tight, the greens are going to be lightning fast. But so what specifically, if you're looking at stats, and I know we can always say strokes gained total, whatever, is going to be big, and and all that stuff. But what do you think for this particular golf course? Give me a stat that is not normal that you think is something that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, three putt avoidance is something that I don't ever put in my models that I weighed kind of heavily this week, because to me, so this course is, it's almost 7,400 yards as a par 70. So it's long. It's not like absurdly long like some of these other U.S. Open courses we've been to recently. I think that the two biggest defenses are the rough and the greens. They're massive greens, and as you said, Greg, they're going to be the fastest we see all year. I think even faster than they have them at Augusta. We don't get the official speeds at Augusta, but these are like 14 or 15 on the stimp, which is just unheard of. So they're big, fast, and super sloping greens. So I think a lot of these guys are going to have a bunch of very tough, like 40, 50 foot putts. And I think getting those up and in 2 is going to be crucial in this tournament. So 3-putt avoidance, and especially 3-putt avoidance on fast greens, is something I think is going to be a big factor this week.
Okay. Yeah. Other things to keep an eye on. I mean, there's going to be, you got there's really deep bunkers here. So you are really going to have to be good. Not only just scrambling is going to be real important, but you got to get out of those bunkers really well. So there's a lot of them in some really key areas. So that's going to be important. Long iron game is also pretty much a staple of U.S. Opens. So I think that's important. And again, I'll show you the model I put together. But before we do that, some other key trends to keep in mind. And I'm going to go ahead and pop up. I'll tell you what, I'll pop up our picks as well as some of the key trends to keep in mind. I also have some of the stats that I'm going to be using for my model. So let's go ahead and pop those up. All right. So, Jared, did you know that your picks for the PGA Championship were exactly the same?
No, I knew I had Bryson at the PGA. Obviously, I had forgotten I had bet Vic. But
I don't know with that.
I've had like 2 or 3 tournaments this year already where I was a week early on a guy. I bet whoever the week prior and he wins the week after. So I know it's not a week early here, but it's potentially a major early on Bryson and Hovland.
Yeah, that's why we used to say all the time, just if you like someone, chances are you should like them the next week too, or the week after, unless there's something completely different with the golf course. All right, so here are some trends to keep an eye on. And this is interesting, that only 24% If you're taking a look at the last 25 winners, only 6 of the last 25 ranked in the top 5. And that is a little, you would think, unusual, because if you just look all the way down here, where is it? Here it is. The last 15 winners all ranked in the top 40. So you're getting the best players of the world, as you should, winning the toughest golf tournament in the world. But the top 5 are not taking it by storm. Matter of fact, if Scotty Scheffler wins this week, he is going to finally snap the streak of top-ranked players to win the U.S. Open. It has not been done since Tiger in 2008. But I think there was one of those trends that happened this past year, which I remember it was no player had done, I forget what it was. They had done 2 things. Maybe it was the Masters and the Players. Did Scheffler win the Masters and the Players in the same year?
Yeah. Scotty busted that streak a couple years ago, I think.
Okay, so that was the one I was thinking about. It was Tiger's the last one to do that. So we know if anybody could do it, it's Scotty.
Yeah, sure. That trend's interesting with none of the top 5 players, only 24% being top 5 players. I think part of it is the U.S. Open has a type. Like you've generally got to be like a power player to win U.S. Opens, right? So I think if you just have a case
too, though.
You got to be able to putt, yeah. But I just think, to me, like when I think of U.S. Open, I think of bombers. And I actually think that's like a bit less of the case, again, on this specific course. But anyways, I think it's just because some of those top end players might just not be perfectly fit for the U.S. Open.
And here's also something unusual. 7 of the last 9 winners did not have a win in the same year. Again, you would think, someone's got to have some sort of good feeling of winning. And again, those are the best players. No, not 7 of the last 9. 7 of the last 8, though, had no worse than an 11th in any prior major event that year. That does make sense, where you want to have you'd like to have some sort of major positive experience going into the 3rd major of the season.
That's always a big one for me, really, at any major. I like to be on guys that have gotten in the mix at previous majors that year. I always think that's a big plus.
Now I'm going to pop in let's start first of all. I just want to show this first. This is the putting model, because there's no there's no guesswork here. There's no, well, let me think I'm going to put this in or that in. There's just, this is POA. This is how you're good on POA or not on POA. And so just taking a look, this is just the last 12 rounds. And I want to use the last 12 rounds just because of the fact that there have been 3 events this year on POA. And those, of course, were the California events, Pebble, and then the 2 at Torrey. So, but again, not everybody played all 3. A lot of them played 2. Some did play 3. So these are, and again, this is always going to be with the top players in mind. This is not the rank. But Scotty, look at Scotty and Rory. Now, Scotty, 38, but Rory. And the funny thing is, there are a couple players. Rory's one. I think Harris English is another. And I even think Oberg. Yes. Oberg, McIlroy, English. They all won those events on POA. Mm-hmm. And none of them are good POA players this year. And that's interesting.
Yeah, POA is weird. It's such a weird surface. It gets, bumpy later in the day, and I think it's a lot more guesswork than the other surfaces. So,
but
definitely interesting. I mean, I like seeing Bryson. I like seeing those numbers on Bryson.
Yeah, how do they rank the players? Are they only taking the events that are majors now? Is that how they're doing them, or how do they work it?
Yeah. For the live guys, at least on Fantasy National here, there's only data from their PGA Tour start. So Bryson, this would be his last 3 majors on POA, whatever those would happen to be. If you actually click the 12 next to Bryson,
this one,
it'll show you which rounds this is taking from. So it's taken. Yeah, see, this is taken from.
Oh, so it's before the majors. Yeah, before they. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it gets tricky.
Yeah, because it's been a couple of years. But the fact is that you do see, if I were to go back like here. Like if I were to go back 75 rounds, 50 rounds, and a player, let's say a player is not really good on POA over the last 24 rounds, and I go back to 50 and 75, chances are they're not really good there either. So it's pretty rare. Like I have seen some players that are pretty decent POA players, but they just haven't been good lately.
Yep.
And those are the ones that I'm more inclined to be like, well, I don't really care because they could all put it together. They've done it before. They know they can. Right. But the ones that have no good history of POA, those are the ones I'm a little bit more concerned with. So.
Yeah, for sure. I would say I wouldn't worry about Scotty too much, or just because.
No, I know, not at all.
I mean, beyond the fact that he does everything else so well, I think he's just become a better putter, which is scary. But he is now at least an above average putter, whereas before that was a major weakness in his game.
Boy, Justin Thomas, it is amazing how that boy just went from I'm on fire, I've got my game back, to you suck again. I mean, what the hell happened to him at the PGA Championship? And then what was the event week after, the one after? Oh, Memorial.
Memorial. He also.
Oh my Lord!
He made the cut there. He had to get hot on Friday afternoon to make the cut. But yeah, luckily I think JT's a guy that's boggled my mind for the past 2 years now. I have no interest this week. He doesn't have a great U.S. Open history.
No,
I think he's not a good enough driver. He's not a good enough driver at this course. I think he's going to get in too much trouble off the tee.
You got to be crazy. Straka, I like him like you do. He's never been good on POA. That's the thing I'm a little bit concerned with. But yeah, I mean, you get the feeling that he's being a little bit disrespected by the odds. What is it, like 50? Something like that?
50, yeah. I mean, for a guy who, the issue with Sepp is he hasn't done it in a major yet.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yep,
is why he's
miscutting both of them this year, right?
Miscutting both of them, yeah.
Okay. Ben Griffin, should we get the Ben Griffin and Ryan Fox parlay going now? I mean, those two guys, I don't know who they think they are. But the problem with Ben Griffin, yes, it's his first appearance. And to tell you the truth, that's definitely an issue. But he has never been good on POA. This has been a really bad putting surface for him. That combination is not good. But the kid's got so much confidence in his head right now that
he's pounding the ball off the tee too. So that should work well here.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the confidence does well over the way he struggles around the green. Same thing with Ryan Fox, by the way. Not good on POA historically. But both of them are really, really on fire. Okay. And I'm not really surprised about Ryan Fox doing this because he's one of those, and as you can see, he's still like in the 30s in the rankings. He's got 2 wins. It's because of the fact that it's like you got a guy that, I don't know who he reminds me of, sort of like a better version of Cameron Champ, where he knows how to win. When he gets in contention, he can win, but he's not very consistent. He doesn't put himself in a lot of position to win too often. But he's got a winning pedigree. He's got a bunch of wins over in Europe.
It wasn't the most impressive playoff from either Fox or Burns. It was kind of like who's going to lose it first, but it was good. Fox did well to get himself into the playoff late on Sunday there.
And our boy Cam Young,
Mm-hmm.
He starts the week going into like birdieing himself into the U.S. Open, which is really impressive. Gets himself in the U.S. Open in a playoff. He must, and that's why I actually put like I don't know what his odds were. I put like $1 or $2 on him just because of that. Go ahead, maybe that's gonna. And sure enough, it did. He was hot. He's right there. He's one back. He's on a par 5. All he has to do is just get yourself in position to birdie the hole, and he goes for it. And then, by the way, you know what was worse though was that did you notice at all when he was in the rough? I don't know if you noticed, but I was saying to myself when he was taking his practice swings, those aren't very. Those are really why is he not swinging the club harder? It's like he's like barely swinging the practice, and then sure enough, he did. It's like I don't know if it's nerves, but if I'm like his caddy and I'm seeing him practice swing like that, I think I got to go over the take. You okay? I mean, anyway, it was not.
Yeah.
It was so predictable what he did.
He's had worse performances on Sunday. The second shot was kind of bad luck. He just smoked that thing. Like I don't think he thought he could hit his 3-wood that far. So that was kind of bad luck. The chip shot was bad. It was a tough chip though. I think it was super fast once it got on the green. But yeah, he's at least playing better again, because for most of this year he's just been flat out bad. At least he's playing well now again. So I'm sure he'll get himself back in the mix again this year. We'll see if he can actually close it out.
Okay, so we have look at Rory dropping to 12-1. What happened here? Now, I know this is only DraftKings, but I didn't even notice this until now.
I mean, this is exactly how I would order it. If you're asking me most likely winner, I would say Scotty 1, Bryson 2. I would put Rahm 3, and I'd have Rory at 4. So I don't think it's wrong.
I just don't. I mean, Rahm.
I think he's back. I do. I think he's back.
Well, he hasn't had a win in I don't know how long. And I don't know. I mean, just one event and he's back. He has good PGA. Okay. I mean,
he was okay. He was okay at the Masters too. He got to a bad start and kind of battled his way back. And it's just as much about Rory as Rahm. Like Rory's just lost right now, especially off the tee. And it's not surprising. Like I truly think Rory's 2025 is going to be. He won the Masters, and like that's kind of it, right? Like that's his year. And I'm not saying he can't win again, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win again this year.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was last week. I mean, that was
he's messing with like new drivers and new setups, and which is crazy because why would you change anything after you won the Masters? But he did, and he's kind of lost the driver. So we'll see if he can get it back.
No, probably not. Okay, so the deal is we all know how good Scotty is. All right, so we all know that he's coming off his first major win outside of the Masters. That's huge. If he's going to win a second major this year, it's probably the U.S. Open over the Open Championship. Wouldn't you think?
You said the U.S. Open over the Open?
Yes. If he were to win a second.
Yes, I think he's more likely to win this than the last major.
Yep. So someone's saying that. We know how he's clearly the best player in the world right now. We get all that, and I'm not talking anybody off of. You want to put a big money on Scotty this week, go right ahead. Normally, of course, if we're talking value, look, bottom line is any monkey could put money on Scotty. So we wouldn't even be doing a show. So, but the thing is if we're looking at it strategically speaking, you got DeChambeau, who's getting almost 3-1 better than Scheffler. And yet, DeChambeau has already proven he's a 2-time U.S. Open champ. He's as good as great as any player in these types of situations, and he's just a much better value pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't think Scotty is 3 times as likely to win this as Bryson, which is what the odds suggest. I think you talk about Bryson being a 2-time U.S. Open champion. To me, I think, and I've heard this from other people too, I think Winged Foot is probably the best comparison to Oakmont, at least among recent U.S. Open venues, and that's where Bryson won his first U.S. Open. You look at the recent major form, second at the PGA a month ago, fifth at the Masters. He missed the cut at the Open in 2024, but the rest of his majors in 2024, he won the U.S. Open, second at the PGA, 6th in the Masters. Like he has figured out how to play these majors. And it's not a surprise because driving and especially length off the tee gets more important in these majors. And that, Bryson is the best driver in the world to me. I would take him over Rory even. Playing well, obviously, just had a pretty nice showing in Live last week. So yeah, I think he is the clear second favorite in this field. And I think, 750, 8-1 is a fine value.
Yeah. He's been playing really good on Live over the past, 4 or 5 events and throwing the majors. So he's dialed in completely. And if you look at, by the way, if you look at McIlroy, it's interesting. In his last 6 U.S. Opens, he has gone from 9th to back-to-back runner-ups. He improved all 5 until last year when he duplicated his runner-up. So that is very impressive. Of course, the only thing he could do now is either go second again or first. But again, I agree with you. He's actually going the opposite direction as far as the way he's trending on tour right now. And I think that does mean more than what he's done in the past at the U.S. Open. And by the way, he did miss the cut here in 2016, 8 over par in his only visit here to Oakmont. Rahm, already kind of talked about Rahm there. We don't have a lot to go on other than if you watch Live, and of course he's passed a couple of majors here. So you actually believe that he's a serious contender.
Yeah, I'd give Rahm a bigger chance here than Rory, just based on form. And I mean, Rahm's U.S. Open history is nearly as good as Rory's. I mean, he has the win for starters. Just look at his last 5 U.S. Opens: 3rd place, 23rd, 1st, 12th, and 10th. I just think he's gonna be there. And we'll see if he can close it on Sunday.
All right, so here's some of the stats regarding the model I put together. And I think again, you can't really look at the Live guys as we just showed you. Those are 3 years ago. But let's talk about the next group odds wise. Let's talk about Schauffele and Morikawa because Schauffele has made all 8 cuts in the U.S. Open with 7 top 10s and 3 top 5s. I mean, that is incredible. Yep. The problem is, he hasn't had a top 5 since August. And I just think that this is not the year. Morikawa, meanwhile, there's a lot to like about Morikawa as far as his game. The problem is it's just mental right now, in my opinion. And I think if you're going to win a U.S. Open, this particular U.S. Open, more than any other U.S. Open, man, you have better be mentally tough. You better be confident, all those things. And I just don't think that that's where Morikawa is right now.
Yeah, and I don't think Collins, he doesn't have his A game right now. You know, you look at the numbers of just the iron play isn't where it usually is. He's actually lost strokes on approach in 2 of his last 3 starts, which isn't normal for him. The around the green game has not been great. And it's unfortunate too for Morikawa because I do think this U.S. Open courses usually aren't great for him, right? Because they usually are more pure distance. I do think accuracy is going to matter off the tee more than usual at this U.S. Open course. So, you know, if Morikawa was in form, I would like this spot for him. I just don't think he is. And same deal with Xander. I mean, Xander, you talk about the U.S. Open history. If you look at the last 5 years, total strokes gained, Rory McIlroy is number 1, but Xander Schauffele is number 2 at U.S. Opens. He's been the second best U.S. Open player over the last 5 years, but he's just, I don't know if it's still coming off the injury or what it is, but I think Xander's just not quite there. You look at the numbers and like PGA Championship, he was awesome off the tee, but he lost strokes on approach. Memorial, awesome on approach, loses strokes off the tee. He can't put it all together yet. And it's gonna happen soon, I think. Like it wouldn't shock me if it happens this week, but I just haven't quite seen it from Xander to pull the trigger on him as a bet.
Okay, so as we get to where we're going to get some really good value now, and whether you noticed or not, and I know you actually like him as well this week, and that is, I think this is the first time in a big event I have ever taken Oberg as my top choice. But again, I'm looking for value players, and there are some good players like some of the ones we just talked about, whether it's a Morikawa or a Schauffele, they're just on top of their game. Justin Thomas just on top of his game. But there are some other players that are playing okay, like Oberg. And, he's starting to trend a little bit in the right direction, which I like. As I said before, not the greatest, POA, but overall, look, his game is looking good. He was 7th this year at the Masters, so he's got at least one good result in the in the majors. He's got the win at Genesis that we talked about, which does have POA greens. We know he's going to win a major. There's no question about it. But keep this in mind. If he wins the U.S. Open, he will join Jeff Ogilvy and Webb Simpson as only the 3rd player in the last 29 U.S. Opens to win on their 2nd appearance.
I like this bet. I considered Ludwig strongly for starters because of the fact that he's what'd you get him at 30-1? I think I've seen him at 33-1 on another book. Like that's just a nice number for a guy who, what was he for the Masters? 20-1, if not lower than that.
Yeah, probably.
Now he had really been struggling since the Masters, Heritage, Truist, and the PGA Championship were not good. Memorial, I think it was either Saturday and Sunday he was good, or just Sunday. But over the weekend he started to turn it around. And then his ball striking numbers last week in Canada were really good. So it looks like he sort of figured it out after being on a 2-month cold stretch there. And if he has figured it out, it's a great course for him. Ludwig, to me, I'd put him one of the best 5 drivers in the world. Plenty long, super straight off the tee when he's right. So it's a good spot for him, and I think it's a good number.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's throw in some other players here, including Joaquin Niemann. And Niemann, of course, you remember I took Niemann in the PGA, and I was really close to taking him here too. It was probably the one player that I didn't take that, and as far as the way the picks were, but I just couldn't take them all. But I see where you're going because I know you like him as well. I mean, I think the thing that really just left it out for me is I don't know if he breaks through. I don't know whether or not the U.S. Open is the type of major for him to break through at. He's not good on POA normally. I even looked back at him over historically, not very good. But it's not just that. It's that 8th at the PGA. It was a good sign, but it was just the only time he's ever done anything in a major. And then we would have to ask him to be in a situation in a major where it's on a Sunday and he's in contention, or maybe he's got the lead and he's got to hold on to a lead in a tough golf course. I think it's asking a lot, but hey, he is about 30-35-1. And he's now he's got 4 wins on Live this year, or 5. I don't even know how many wins he's got.
Yeah, he has a lot of wins, more than John Rahm, that's for sure.
4 or 5 more than Rahm. Yeah.
I think I said this on the PGA show, but I think Niemann's one of the 10 best players in the world. I don't care that he's on Live. I think he's one of the 10 most talented golfers in the world. So I think getting him at 35 or whatever is decent value. I do still worry about just the lack of being in contention in majors. Even the PGA, that was a total backdoor T8 or whatever. He was never in the mix. He had a nice Sunday and backdoored it. Other concern with Niemann, and this is the case for a lot of these majors, I think it might be why he struggled in majors. His short game's not good. If he misses greens, it's going to be trouble. Now, it's a good thing that these greens are so big. They're going to be tough to miss as long as if he's playing out of the fairway.
Yeah. See, even just a few years ago, his numbers weren't good.
Yeah, exactly. I have concerns about the short game.
Okay. Now, another one of my picks is going to be right here, Shane Lowry. And with Lowry, again, we talked about the fact that the last time we were at Oakmont, he had a big lead going into the final round. What's interesting about this course too is when I was looking at it on the film, it's got sort of like the fairways have sort of like a linksy look to them. Mm-hmm. And so players that are used to playing that type of, like Lowry, like some players overseas, that might be a help to them. But anyway, I like the way Lowry is trending in the right direction. We know that matter of fact, if you look at it, he's got top 5s in all 4 majors, including the win at the Open Championship in 2019. And, he's had a pretty good year. It's just that he hasn't been able to close. His putters really let him down on Sundays, or else he definitely would have at least a win.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I've bet Lowry multiple times this year because the ball striking has been awesome all year. He just has not been able to close. And like you said, Greg, the putter is always a problem. He's pretty. I looked at putting and 3-putt avoidance on lightning fast greens. That's how Fantasy National defines them. And Lowry's he's decent. He's 48th in this field in strokes gained putting on lightning fast greens. He's 30th in 3-putt and avoidance. So it seems like he might be better on these fast greens, which is a reason to like him this week. I just I worry about his ability on Sunday if he's in the mix. We haven't seen him win in a while now, at least outside of the team event with Rory, which does not really count.
No, that doesn't count. Which was nice that Ben Griffin was able to win.
Yeah, got him going.
Yes, and that was important. You want to get that real win. Okay, Hovland. So taking him the last two majors, and he's never had a top 10 at the U.S. Open, which does not matter. Matter of fact, if you look at it, there are a bunch of players when you look at their history at the U.S. Open that have had one top 10, and that was their win. So you don't have to have a bunch of top 10s in the U.S. Open, in your history in order to win the U.S. Open. Just put it together that 1 week. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned with is that he's only had one top 10 this year, and that was the win. Speaking of that kind of formula, his majors were okay, top 30s. We weren't bad, but yeah, I was looking at him as well.
Yeah, this is like first of all, a number play. I got him at 60-1, and a ceiling play. Like, to me, there aren't more than 10 guys in this field where, like, unless Scotty has his D game, I don't think there's more than 10 guys that can beat him. But Hovland, I think, is one where if Scotty brings his B- game and Hovland brings his A+ game, like we saw him bring at Valspar earlier this year, and I know that was basically his only good result all year, but if he brings that game, I think he is good enough to beat Scotty. And you mentioned the lack of U.S. Open success. I do like, though, that he's had 2 top 3s at the PGA. He's at a top 10 at the Masters. So, like, he's been in the mix in majors. So even though it hasn't been the U.S. Open, he's gotten a taste of it.
And he has 3 top 20s out of the 6. So again, it's not that he hasn't had any success. So yeah, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing. If he's 30 or 40-1, different, 60-1. I mean, come on. That's definitely the reason I was looking at as well. I was looking at Hideki. I didn't take Hideki, but here's the interesting thing about Hideki. He's made 11 of 12 cuts in the U.S. Open with 8 top 25s, 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s, and a runner-up in 2017. So he's yet to win a U.S. Open. He does look destined, though, to win a U.S. Open. It looks like that is part of his game. He's only missed 1 cut.
Yeah.
And do you know where that was?
This year or at a U.S. Open?
No, a U.S. Open.
Here.
Here. How crazy is that? 11 of 12 cuts made, and the only cut you didn't make was the one you're going to this week.
Long time ago.
It was.
I mean, I do like Hideki's what? He's like 70-1 or whatever. So like
70. That's why I was saying crazy. 70-1.
I'm gonna say at the same time, I think that's a decent bet. I also wouldn't be surprised if he misses the cut again this week because his game's just not there. I mean, I always like Hideki on tough courses. He is an excellent short game player, and he can save pars, which is what you're gonna have to do here. But his game's just not there. Especially last time out, Memorial lost 5.8 strokes on approach. That's the second worst approach event of his career. Last time out at Memorial.
Yeah, he's just too erratic right now. I mean, his putting has been awful, except he was okay. It's actually the best putting surface for him this year has been POA. But for the general, everywhere else has been awful with the putter.
Yep.
And by the way, no top 10s since the Century win.
Right.
None. So, okay. There's Straka. So, yeah, I mean, Straka, we talked about him as a definite possibility. Just he's got the multiple wins. He's had success in majors, runner-up at the Open Championship, and 7th in the PGA in 2023. So even though he missed a cut this year in both, he does have success in that situation. Not good on these greens. That won't help him. And you know what? I think the other event that you talk about courses that might be good to look at, it's not easy. There's not a lot. But Memorial is not a bad tune-up. That is a nice tune-up for the U.S. Open.
For sure. I mean, similar part of the country, so that grasses are going to be kind of similar. You got the super long rough, just a tough course. I'm totally with you. And Sepp has the game for majors. He is an excellent driver as well. He's not long, but he's super accurate. And again, I think this is a U.S. Open course where you don't need to be top 20 in distance. I think the more accuracy types can compete here. I like that his major track record is still a bit underwhelming, but I like the fact that he won an elevated event, kind of like, the next best thing.
Yep.
And he's just been one of the best 5 players on PGA Tour this year. So.
All right. So Russell Henley, taking a look at him, there's a lot to like about his game this year. We know that. His majors, he's got 8 top 15s. So he's had success in majors. He's got the 5th at Memorial. He won Bay Hill, a tough golf course. 7th last year in the U.S. Open. Mm-hmm. That is, I believe, the only top 10 he has in the U.S. Open, and it came last year. He's got 3 top 15s in the last 4 years in the U.S. Open. But he missed both cuts in the majors this year. And that's the kind of thing that you just can't see if you're going to be picking a guy like this. The good thing is he's 65 to 1, but I don't know. I mean, and look at us. All this is just, it doesn't even, that doesn't look as good as I'd like to see it. But anyway, that's not the thing. The thing that really concerns me is to just not even make a cut in both of those majors this year. And he's never really, even though he's got a bunch of top 15s, when do we ever see Russell Henley in contention for a major? I don't even know. Maybe it's happened once or twice.
Yeah, I remember him when Rahm won the U.S. Open at Torrey. I remember Henley was maybe in the final group or the second to last group. It looks like he came 13th that year. Is that this right year, 2021?
Okay.
Yeah, he came 13th that year. But yeah, he somehow plays long, tough courses better than I think he should, because he's not a long hitter. I know he's super accurate, but and again, this is a better U.S. Open course for him, I think, because I think accuracy is going to matter more. But his game's not exactly where I'd like to see it. Since his win, he's just been okay. So Henley's not really on my radar this week.
Well, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I said in the beginning of the year that Patrick Cantlay was going to win a major. So I'm going to go ahead and pick him this week. He's a big number, like Straka, he's about 50 to 1. And normally, in years past, he's been around 35 to 1, 30. So I think 50 is not bad for Cantlay. 9 out of 9 cuts at the U.S. Open, 6 top 25s. He was 3rd last year. So keep that. So he's getting better. If you look at his U.S. Open history, he's getting better every year. He's really good on these greens. And he's got 7 top 15s on the year with 3 top 5s. Masters 36, didn't make the cut at PGA, but he does have 5 top 10s in majors. So he's been a little bit better there recently. Again, maybe he could just be one of those players that didn't have a win the same year, but just went out and won the U.S. Open. I think he's got the game for it now, but especially the putter, because I'm confident the putter can be there for him. But I don't know, still a tricky pick.
Yeah, I mean, he's long overdue for a major. The one thing this is surprising about the putting, and like you said, he's a good POA putter. He's a good putter in general. But again, I looked at how these guys do on lightning fast greens, and he's not good in terms of strokes gained putting or 3-putt avoidance. He's 127th in strokes gained putting and 132nd in 3-putt avoidance. So again, I think some of that stuff can be noisy. Like, it's kind of like small samples, and putting can be weird. But at least in the greens that I'm pulling this data from, Cantlay hasn't been good.
Keegan Bradley, I took him in the PGA Championship, and he finished 8th. So I'm going to go ahead and take him again. You like him as well. And Bradley, you just wonder whether or not he can go ahead and get that second major. Of course, he's got the big responsibilities coming up this year with the Ryder Cup. 7th at Memorial. He was also 8th at the PGA, and he's trending in the right direction with back-to-back top 10s.
I mean, he's just hit it so well all year. The putter has been the problem. Keegan's only gained strokes putting in 5 events all season. In those 5 events, he's come 15th, 6th, 5th, 20th, and 7th. So every time he's putted above average, he's been in the mix. And what I like about Keegan is he, in general, he's not a great putter, but on those lightning fast greens, he's 31st in this field in strokes gained putting. He's 23rd in 3-putt avoidance. So it looks like he's better on these fast greens than he is, in general.
Okay. I'm going to go with Sam Burns because he's a big number at 80 to 1. And for the first time in his career, which was important, he actually had a good result in a major last year We saw that when he finished 9th at the U.S. Open. And he had been getting better as well at the U.S. Open, just like Cantlay. So I think that's important, is that he's every year you could see it. He's gradually getting better. 9th last year, that's big. So that's important. He's also trending in the right direction on the year. He got off to a bad start, but he's been playing his best golf recently. So what happened on Sunday and all that kind of stuff. But still, he had a big closing day. So that should be important. 9th at the PGA, not all that bad. He is normally a pretty good putter on POA. Hasn't been this year in his 2 POA events this year. He hasn't been good, but he's normally good. So I don't care about that. We've talked about that at the beginning. So yeah, sort of like I said with like up Cantlay or something, maybe, Burns can be one of these players that doesn't win this year and can actually win the U.S. Open. It's a long shot, but he's 80-1. That's the reason. I'm not taking him at 50 or 40, but why not? He's hot right now and he's 80.
Burns' putter is so hot right now. He hasn't lost strokes putting since Waste Management, which was early February.
Oh wow,
Super Bowl. And he's had a bunch of gaining 5 strokes, 6 strokes, 8 strokes, 7 strokes putting. So the putter is red hot. I used to think Burns was one of the best closers in golf, but he has not been. And again, that playoff performance on Sunday was disappointing. So I would definitely have questions about him if he's in the mix on Sunday. But yeah, I think at the number, he's a pretty nice shot to take.
Siwoo, as you can see there, he's got some good numbers, and he's somebody that has popped up a little bit this year in some events. Of course, things didn't go well for him closing at the Heritage, I believe. Is that the one? The Justin Thomas one? Yeah, he had the lead going into the final round, I believe. He only has 1 top 15 in 8 U.S. Opens. But as you can see here, the model's nice for him. He's also the putter, I think in the last outing or so has been okay on POA. But yeah, I mean, he's got the makeup of a player that can win a big event. We've seen him do that before. So you kind of like him this week.
Yeah, he's on my radar. You can get him at 100, 110-1. Yeah, like you said, players champion. So he's won a big event. One of the most accurate drivers in golf, which again, I think is going to matter this week. Even if you're not super long, if you're staying out of that thick rough, it's going to be an advantage. And with the putter, I mean, Siwoo, I wouldn't consider him a good putter in general, but he is 4th in this field in 3-putt avoidance on lightning fast greens. So he is, kind of a good lag putter evidently on these lightning fast greens and is able to avoid 3 putts, which I think is going to be a big key this week.
Harris English, you're getting 100-1 in Harris English, which is why he made my list. I know you like him as a long shot as well. How can you not take Harris English at 100-1? He's right now one of the best players this year in majors. He was 2nd at the PGA, 12th at the Masters. He's made 9 of 9 cuts at the U.S. Open with 3 top 10s and 2 top 5s in his last 5 appearances at the U.S. Open. And even though statistically, recently, he hasn't been good on POA, he has been a decent POA putter in the past. And again, I wouldn't worry about that. He just won the Farmers Insurance earlier this year on those POA greens. So yes, I think a definite long shot play at 100-1.
Yep, you nailed it. Good U.S. Open history. He's a good putter in general. I would not be worried about his putting. And then, like you said, Greg, he won it at Torrey Pines, which is a decent comp for this week, long course, super thick rough. Harris English is good in those type of conditions.
A long shot that I didn't take, but I was a couple of them that I was really looking at. One is Batia. Mm-hmm. His putter on POA is just absolutely on fire, and that's always nice. He also, if you take a look at it, if you take a look at how things went for him in the majors, he was 16th last year at the U.S. Open. That's his best major finish. He was also not bad at Memorial a few weeks ago. So there's a lot to like about his game. He's trending in the right direction. Again, I didn't take him, but he's a big long shot at 150-1. I was even thinking another guy I didn't take that I was thinking about a little bit was Adam Scott, but I also passed on him. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about some other long shots that are back here?
I love Akshay. I still think he is a future major winner. He's still super young. Probably not this week. He's not in the best form. But he is, again, he's not the longest hitter, but he's very accurate. And I think this is a better U.S. Open course for him than most. The short game worries me with Akshay. He's not a good short game player, so I worry about that if he's missing greens. But I think you could do worse as a 150 to 1 long shot than Akshay. Novak's someone too. Like, is he ready to win a major when he hasn't won a real event yet outside of the team? Probably not. But he's been one of the best 10 players on the PGA Tour this year.
Yeah, he's again. I thought he would win some already this year. He hasn't, but still got time. But my top long shot is going to be Nick Taylor. I said this before to you like a year or two ago that I think he's going to be able to win a major at some point. And if he's going to win one, I always felt it would be the U.S. Open because he's got the putter. And even if he's not particularly good that week with the putter, we know that he's got, the type of a steely mindset that he can just put it all together and get the job done with the putter when he needs to. That goes a long way in the U.S. Open. He's playing really good golf, 13th and 4th in his last 2 outings. He was 4th at Memorial, by the way. As we said, not bad tune-up. And he's normally a good putter too. Not good lately, but I wouldn't worry about that. Yeah, I think there's a lot to like about a 170 to 1 shot Nick Taylor.
Yeah, there are very few players I would trust more over like a 10-foot putt than Nick Taylor. He's someone I would not be worried about him if he's in contention on Sunday. Like I don't think the moment would be too big for him. So I would love to see that. I like Nick Taylor.
Okay, so there you go. Let's just see. These are what the odds look like. Any other players that you wanted to throw in there? Any of the players that you think might be interesting if they get off to good starts that maybe you were thinking about?
I will say it's funny. No one's talking about Brooks Koepka, and I know that's probably for good reason. But U.S. Opens. And just as a personal note, I've been to 2 majors, and Brooks Koepka has won both of them.
Oh,
I'll be I'll be there on Sunday. So if he wins, you'll know why. He's
55 to 1. Not
if he
bad.
wins, it's because I'm there.
But was it? But I think when you went to those 2, he was playing a lot better.
A lot better.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate too because it's like we don't really look. Nobody feels sorry for Brooks Koepka or any of these guys over at LIV. They're making more money than they'll ever need. But guys like Cameron Smith at 150 to 1, Koepka at 55 to 1, Patrick Reed's 100 to 1. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I don't know what the mindset is now from some of these guys over at LIV. I don't know.
I mean, it's been a negative for all of them besides Bryson.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
I mean, I think all of them would be in a better place if they were on the PGA Tour still.
All right. Well, anyway, there you go. U.S. Open coverage. We have one more major to go after this. And where is that going to be?
Portrush, right?
Okay. And do we know anything about Portrush that makes it distinguishable? Recognizable? Anything that you recall?
I mean, they've played there before. I should know who won. They played in 2019 and Lowry. That was the Lowry.
Oh, that was Lowry's win. Okay.
The Lowry win. Yep.
All right. So there you go. We'll see how that goes. There's also Ryder Cup here, and we've got the playoffs, the FedEx Cup playoffs. Are we done with the signature events, or there's one more?
Next week is Travelers, which is, I think, the last signature event.
See, that just shows you right there. See, it's about money with the signature events. It's all it's about. It's not about how great the golf course is or anything like that. It's about, hey, Travelers got money, and they put the money up, and the players will show up.
That's it, though. I mean, it's winding down now. Yeah.
So, and I still don't understand though why. Maybe it's going to take him a few years because of the scheduling. But I mean, this is so ridiculous to have these signature events right next to the majors. I mean,
I don't get it.
Doesn't make any sense.
Nope,
But
it
anyway,
doesn't.
next week there'll be some more good golf to talk about. And then I guess we might have to take a few weeks off before they head to Scotland and then the Open Championship. So check back with us for some of the big golf coming up. There's still some more big golf to discuss. Jared, you're going to be headed to the U.S. Open. Are you going to be like doing anything on Twitter? You've got your own golf Twitter account. So you're going to be, I don't know, posting or anything?
Yeah, maybe a picture or a video here or there, but I'm going to be mostly enjoying it. It's not a work trip.
No, your day job is fantasy football over
That's
at
right.
Draft Sharks. That's the most important thing. So, all right. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like, share, all that really good stuff, and follow us, of course, with our football coverage. Hopefully, we'll get this guy on to talk some fantasy football here on Proline TV real soon. That'd be great. We got to do our dynasty draft too soon, so can't wait for that. And yeah, I mean, who knows? It's possible. Maybe we will be doing some more coverage later in the week. I did that at the Masters. Obviously, that was a little bit different vibe, but this is the U.S. Open. So that's why you want to stay tuned, subscribe and all that, because it is possible that maybe we'll be back in a couple of days, or I'll be back in a couple of days to talk about what's going on and to preview the weekend and maybe do something like that. So that's a possibility. Check back with us here at Proline TV. And Jared, looking forward to talking to you again for the Open Championship. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg. Enjoy the golf this week.
Absolutely. Hopefully it'll be fun, and hopefully it will be under par. I think that'd be a lot more, aesthetically pleasing.
I think it will be not much, but I think it'll be under par.
I hope so. All right. Thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time.